Staying right along 136, here's another garage absolutely leveled. Nothing left of that. Top of the house taken off. You can see broken windows in the front of the house.
Spinning out and shoveling out. People all across our area try to deal with a severe blizzard shocking our state. A storm so serious that Governor Casey declares Pennsylvania a state of emergency.
Washington Boulevard, 4 p.m., rush hour, the absolute worst time this flash flood could have hit. The water 9 feet deep at places, emergency responders paddling up and down, searching for submerged vehicles, rescuing about a dozen stranded people.
Unfortunately, we didn't get everybody.
We're going to keep going to our left, and that's all we see is debris and more debris.
Tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, flash flooding, and heavy snow. It's all common weather for us here in Pittsburgh. Many of us tune to a local TV or radio station, browse the internet, or check our cell phones for the latest weather information. But where does it all come from? And who issues the official watches, warnings, and forecasts for our area? It all starts here, the National Weather Service.
Back in the 60s, in fact. Well, that's when I became interested in it, because I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay, and I used to commercially crab and fish. So one of the things you really have to be aware of is the weather. So you start watching the weather all the time, and then that's when the bug bit me, just like it probably bit most people at a young age. And then from there, I actually went to the Navy in the early 70s. And from there, after I got out of the Navy, spent over 6 years in the Navy, got out of the Navy, and then used a GI Bill, which was a great thing to have. And then went to Penn State from there, and then finished Penn State, and then went into the Weather Service. So really it's been since the early 70s as far as formal meteorology, but I always had an interest in it, especially when I started growing up. But many times, many of us move around. So I started out back in 1985 after graduating Penn State, after my graduate degree at Penn State, and went to the National Weather Service in North Carolina, then spent several years there, went to the National Weather Service in Albany, New York, spent about 3 years there, went to the National Weather Service down in Washington, D.C., spent about three years there, went to the National Weather Service in Blacksburg, Virginia, at a new spin-up office as a science operations officer. Spent about 2.5, 3 years there, and eventually came here. So you can see you tend to move around a lot when you work for the federal government. But it's good because you learn a lot of different forecasting, different techniques, way things are done differently. So it's really not bad. It's a really good, sometimes a really good thing to move around. What happens with this position is it's where the buck stops. Everything eventually stops here. So all the information that eventually goes out of this office or comes into this office is essentially your responsibility. But I've got a great group of people that actually have individual jobs that make sure that happens. So you're really responsible ultimately for everything that happens here, and the working conditions, and the things that, again, all the information that goes out and comes in ultimately comes down to you. It's where it will stop. We're one of about 122 field offices, and we do have a regional office which is located up in Bohemia, New York. So with their guidance, they give us guidance on how to do certain things, and of course then there's a national headquarters located at Silver Springs, Maryland, which also gives us guidance on how to do things as well. But ultimately right here at this forecast office is where the rubber meets the road. It's where we contact the public most of the time. Much of the information that goes out, and of course we deal with the public one-on-one, whether it's Skywarn, whether it's by phone, whether it's with our external users group. We're dealing with the public probably more often and than any other entity within the National Weather Service. The national centers do some of that, but probably not as much as we do. The river forecast centers, they don't do too much of that. They do a little bit of that. We're actually the ones that deal with people more often on the rivers than do the river forecast centers. So ultimately, for everything that goes on in the office, you're responsible for. But again, you have a real good group of people that do a lot of the work. There's the warning coordination meteorologist, there's a science operations officer, there's the senior forecasters, which are responsible for each individual shift, and then there's the general forecasters that work with the senior forecasters, and there's a group that work, they're either interns, HMTs, that also do work that are responsible all the way up the chain. So. Ultimately, it's for everything this office does eventually. This property we've had for some time, and it used to just release balloons and be a radar observation site, but then the entire forecast office eventually made it here. So it's been here since then.
That is what goes out and can be seen by the public from our webpage as the point-and-click forecast, where you can go to weather.gov/Pittsburgh and you can click on your location and it will give you a point forecast right for wherever you live. And we also issue a text product from our forecast that goes out to the NOAA weather radio, and that's called the Zone Forecast product, or the ZFP for short. So another important thing that we look at are forecast models. And so this is the global forecast system model. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing precipitation highlighted as an image in the background, and also the mean sea level pressure as well. So if we go to around right now, the global forecast system shows us that we have precipitation out west with the frontal boundary, and then precipitation to our southeast with weak low pressure system near the Delmarva Peninsula, and then tropical storm Alberto that's off the Georgia and South Carolina coast. So that's really what's going on right now, but what's great about the models is we can go out. In this model's case, we can go all the way out 10 days to see what the model's forecasting. So as we go forward in time, here's tomorrow at 2 p.m. and you can see that frontal boundary really starts to get closer to the area, approaching from the west, and moisture is filtering up with this low into our area, so that's why we have the chance of showers in tomorrow. And so we can just keep going out and show the frontal boundary crossing the area. This is Wednesday. We still have a lot of moisture lingering in the area from the low to our east, and the frontal boundary being slow to move out of the area. And this goes all the way out into next weekend, showing not a lot in the way of precipitation, but maybe some afternoon what's heat-driven or diurnally driven thunderstorms. Given that there's high pressure, there's really not much to see from the radar, but that gives you an idea of kind of our region. There's some thunderstorms just kind of clipping there out on the far west. So once we determine what we want to forecast, then we have to actually make the forecast. And to do that, we go into the Graphical Forecast Editor, which is the program that we can send out products from. And basically what we do is we can draw the forecast from our model interpretation and current observations and satellite and radar trends. We can take all that and put it together into making our forecast, and then this is how we communicate our forecast, by drawing a picture. this were a strong storm, we could track it to where it was several frames ago, and track it as it moves forward. This track box, we can pick for want to issue for a line of storms. We can make a big line polygon, or if we just want to do one storm, which is often the case. Get our fair share of squall lines in this area too. But so then once we know, we can adjust where we want polygon to be for the warning, and we can pick what kind of warning we're going to issue. We're going to issue severe, flash flood emergency, tornado, or like a special weather statement. If a storm's not quite severe yet, it's sub-severe with winds 40 to 50 miles per hour, small hail less than a quarter, less than the size of the quarter of the coin, less than an inch in diameter, then we'll issue a special weather statement for that. Then we can add other call to action statements like this storm has a history of producing damaging winds and large hail. Once we have everything how we want it, we would click on this create text button. It would pop up here and we'd be within this, and we could actually edit the product.
Okay.
And so, example, it came up with the strong thunderstorm will affect these counties. It says how fast it was moving, what's possible with this, 50 mile per hour winds, locations impacted. All the information's up there already, so there's little post-editing. Once you draw it how you want it, then it comes up with the text so you can get out the product quickly. In the summer, I mean, every thunderstorm has dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning with it. And we don't issue special weather statements for every thunderstorm, but we'll issue it for the ones that get stronger. And often those have frequent lightning counts with them, cloud-to-ground lightning, which can be fatal if you're struck by lightning. So, and also there's other things like 40 to 50 mile per hour winds can toss around things out in your yard if you don't have them secured. Small hail is something you certainly want to know about. And also, another good thing about special weather statements is it gives you a heads up that there's a strong storm that might strengthen and become severe. So that kind of gives you a heads up that, okay, I better keep an eye on this storm just in case it becomes severe. Also, we issue special weather statements in the winter a lot too for light snow events, maybe just that quick inch of snow, a snow squall that comes through the area. That's good to know about because a quick inch of snow can be sometimes even more treacherous than getting a 5 or 6 inch snow over a long period of time. So that kind of information can be issued in special weather statements as well. So for example, winter storm warning, which is displayed in pink on our county watch warning advisory map from our website at weather.gov/Pittsburgh. For a winter storm warning, we need to have 6 inches of snow within 12 hours or 8 inches of snow within 24 hours. For a winter weather advisory, we need 3 inches of snow in 12 hours. We have other products like the Winter Storm Watch. That means there's the potential to hit warning criteria. So again, 6 inches of snow in 12 hours and 8 inches in 24 hours. Then we have some other products that aren't used as frequently throughout the winter. We haven't had to use a blizzard watch or a blizzard warning for quite some time, although Westmoreland County, the eastern portions down into Garrett County, Preston and Tucker had a blizzard warning back in February of 2010. A blizzard warning is issued for the combination of heavy snow, sustained winds that are greater than 35 miles per hour, and the blowing snow leading to reduced visibilities of less than a quarter of a mile. And you need those conditions for 3 consecutive hours for it to be considered a blizzard. So a lot of times we'll get these heavy snows in the area, and people want to call it a blizzard. they wanted to call the snow in early February, where we got 20 inches, a blizzard, but the winds weren't that strong. So by actual criteria, it wasn't a blizzard, it was just a heavy snow event. So we issue blizzard watches as well. Something we do issue on more frequently, maybe once or twice a year. Some cases, depending on how active the season is, maybe a little bit more. Freezing rain advisories and ice storm warnings. Freezing rain advisory we will issue for the possibility of ice accumulation up to 1/4 of an inch. And it takes such a very small amount of freezing rain to cause problems on local roads and sidewalks, to make things icy, that really any amount of freezing rain, as long as it's enough to cause a little bit of ice accumulation, accretion on the surfaces, is enough for a freezing rain advisory to be issued. The ice storm warning is for more significant ice events when we're expecting over 1/4 of an inch of ice or more. This is when we start to have issues with tree limbs starting to fall, which can be very dangerous. Roads just become impassable because they're completely covered with ice and are very dangerous. So ice storm warnings are very hazardous to the area. We also issue products for wind chill. We have a wind chill advisory for wind chills of -10 to -24. Wind chill warning is for -25 degrees. We also have a wind chill watch, expecting warning conditions. And like we issue winter weather and winter storm products, we have lake effect snow products. We have lake effect snow watch, warning, and advisory, which is just for counties along the Interstate 80 corridor, Mercer, Venango, and Forest counties. We can issue lake effect products for. Right, we have 9 transmitters in our area. Starting with Pittsburgh was the first one here in 1976. It became operational for our area. So they're placed so we have coverage just about through every county throughout our area. Fatal tornadoes can happen anywhere across the country. Just last week, March 2nd, we had fatalities in southwest Ohio, northern Kentucky, and southeast Indiana. That's only a few hundred miles from here. And last year we had the EF2 Hemphill Township tornado. So we do get severe weather here, and the NOAA weather radio is the most direct way for you to get that information. If you're not watching TV, if you're not on the internet, if you don't have your phone alert set up on you, then the weather radio can let you know. You need to have the specific county code, so you're just getting your specific warnings just for your county, and you can program it for your surrounding counties if you want to know what's coming upstream as well. Or you can look to see, you can look at different coverage maps to see which transmitter you use specifically. Like here is Pittsburgh's coverage map. Shows the area, like southern Butler County is covered by the Pittsburgh transmitter, and you can also get the same codes for your specific counties. Well, it depends on the user. If the user is very dependent on Facebook and they spend a lot of time on there and they check our page frequently, then yes, they can get the information updates on Facebook. We update our information from our hazardous weather outlook goes directly to our Facebook page, although our specific warnings do not go right up on our page. So a more reliable source would be to go to our website. We will post on Facebook and ask if anyone has had any severe weather in the area, or how much snow have you had, and we'll get real-time reports very instantly from our Facebook users on there, which can be helpful because you can get a lot of reports at once instead of taking the time to take several different phone calls. You can look at all the reports in real time. For the most part, our use of Twitter has been just to search for reports and find tweets that report weather within them. And those tweets, what we look for specifically are tweets that end with hashtag WXReport. So that way it pulls those out so we can look for severe weather reports with that, or snowfall accumulations. So this is the state troopers police video of the Van Wert, Ohio tornado, which was a strong tornado that hit a movie theater in Van Wert. And what happened was they had a weather radio there at the movie theater, and the movie theater manager got the information and actually went into the theater and had the theater evacuated. And that theater ended up getting destroyed by the tornado. Cars were thrown into the theater, and they certainly saved lives in that case because people moved out of the way from where the theater was completely destroyed. In the past, our most direct way of getting out warnings has been, historically, it's been the NOAA weather radio for getting out tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings and the watches, warnings, and advisories that we issued to save lives and protect property. However, there have been limitations from the NOAA weather radio. For one, we only have so many transmitters, and the signal is not the greatest in some locations. The weather radio signal is kind of scratchy, or some areas they might not get a signal, very good signal at all. And also, when warnings go out to the NOAA weather radio, they're issued on a county by county basis. And some weather radios actually, you cannot, some of the older weather radios that a lot of people have, you cannot program just for your own county or just for a certain type of statement. And so all the statements that come out alarm them, and all the counties around them, they get those alarms too. And so that sets up a little bit of complacency. You hear your weather radio going off, and then you click to turn it off right away because it goes off all the time. So the idea is to get more to a specific area, to get a warning out, an important message to a very specific area. And not everyone might be able to afford a weather radio in addition. So, but most people do have cell phones. A lot of people have cell phones or around someone that has a cell phone. And what's great about this new system, the wireless emergency alerts that can come out, is that they can do weather, and they do hazmat spills, they can do a presidential alert message, but they, most importantly for us from the National Weather Service, that we can, if we issue a tornado warning or blizzard warning, or even offices out west, if they issue a dust storm warning, that information goes right to the tower, and then it comes into all the phones within that tower's area, and it alerts everyone. And you actually, if you don't want to get those products sent to your phone, if you get them another way that's very reliable, you can actually choose to opt out after you get your first one. But it's great because people that might be sleeping, the alert comes into their phone, it might wake them up because it has a very distinct vibration and sound to it when it comes in. And also, someone's driving and they aren't able to really keep up with what's going on TV with the weather, don't have a weather radio with them while they're traveling, they might not be home. Well, if they're within a certain transmitter, broadcast tower for a cell phone, they'll get that message if they're in a tornado warning for their area. So it's going to be a great system, and it's been something that a lot of us have been anticipating for several years, and something we're all excited about. Being able to reach so many people at one time can really help us keep people alert and potentially save a lot of lives by people taking action when they get these messages.
Raindrops are falling on my head, and just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. So I just did me some talking to the sun, and I said I didn't like the way he got things done, sleeping on the job.
Yep.
They send to meet me won't defeat me. It won't be long till happiness steps up to greet me. Raindrops keep falling on my head, but that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. Crying's not for me, 'cause I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining, because I'm free. Nothing's worrying me.